John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, Labor Day weekend, September 1st, 2024. Well, the theme of the briefing looks to be persistent above normal temperatures over the western U.S. and pleasant early fall conditions over the eastern U.S. I'm going to be talking about a very significant dry pattern and also keeping an eye on the tropics. Let's get started. So the current weather map here has several fronts, and along this first front I'm going to show you in a little bit the precipitable water is very high, so we're getting some rain, especially along the coast. And then the second front here is really some cool, dry, stable air behind that. Now, before we had this air mass transition in progress, we had a lot of action last week. Spots of heavy rain in green, high winds in yellow, hail in purple, and even tornadoes. Take a look at that, the southeast Texas coast, around Florida Peninsula, off the east coast of the U.S. We had some tornado reports, and even look at that blue dot. We even had some heavier snow at higher elevations of the Rockies. In case you're interested where we had the rain last week, the heaviest rain, well, it was pretty splotchy here. Many areas, especially over the western U.S., hardly any at all. But over Minnesota and Wisconsin, it was active, and also along the coastal, especially the North Gulf of Mexico. Now, before we had the transition of the cooler air pushing in, parts of the middle part of the nation experienced really unusually hot weather, and parts of the western U.S. unusually cool weather. The hottest temperatures made it to 100 degrees in this axis right in here, and 105 to 110 in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, or Texas, and the southwest U.S. Now remember that cool area I talked about? This is the area of the lowest temperatures. That made it into the 20s and 30s over parts of the northwest U.S. So like I said, we are changing things quite a bit. You can see that transition in the dew points. We're starting to work some much drier air into this region here and pushing out these dew points, but they're pretty high. We have some muggy air this Labor Day weekend over the southern U.S., southeast, and parts of the mid-Atlantic region. So rivers, just a few spots of flood flows. Those are the yellow and orange dots, but most areas we're now looking at some very low flows here. I just wanted to point out the shading of brown here is unusually low flow, and you can see on the Ohio River and parts of the lower Mississippi, we are getting close to low flows. So we have an amplified flow, and that's been on my mind. I'm doing some research. I want to put out a post on that as soon as I get the meteorological summer statistics, probably this week. I want to talk about that a bit. But we have this ridge of high pressure over the western U.S., that's associated with unusually warm weather. We have this dip in the jet stream in the east, and that's unusually cool weather. And by Saturday, it's even more pronounced, so we are going to be looking at, say, Montana, for example, unusually warm, and Wisconsin and Michigan, unusually cool. And you can see that here. Look at this line, very abrupt line right here. To the west, warm, and to the east, cool. This could be a really pleasant air mass in this region. Okay, so let's take a look at the tropics. And if we look at the satellite picture, boy, it just does not look impressive. Lots of clear skies. There's a stable air mass, just not conducive to much development in this peak of hurricane season. We do have a system right off the coast, and this could bring some moisture inland. It does not look like it's going to develop. This is the next 7 days. This system here could develop, this area of undisturbed weather, but everything else looks, there are waves coming off of Africa. They're just not developing. There's overall something inhibiting that, keeping our air mass stable, not giving us the vertical motion to develop these systems. Precipitable water is interesting. This is a total amount of moisture, just not at the Earth's surface, but aloft as well. But look at this dividing line here. St. Louis, an unusually dry precipitable water, or low. Memphis, unusually high. So that shows the difference between the air mass. Here's the cool, stable air mass. Here's the warm, moist air mass. So as far as rain goes this week, many areas not much rain at all. but south of that boundary where the precipitable water is high, we could get some soaking rain across the southern U.S., Texas, all the way across the southeast and us up the mid-Atlantic, 1 to 3 inches of rain in those areas. Now, I said I was going to talk about the dry weather. I've showed this for a number of weeks now, the next 30 days. This is sort of the big picture. Doesn't mean no rain, but it just means that we are looking really dry in these areas of brown, and especially areas of dark brown and red, well below normal rainfall, and that means we're going to have continued issues with low flows, drying of upper soils, and the expansion of drought in those areas. Okay, so as far as week 2 goes, well, we still have that pattern. There's our line. To the east, unusually cool and pleasant. To the west, unusually warm. And look at all the brown in these extended outlooks. Look how much of the nation. Very quiet. Very stable air mass. Very quiet. So that's this week's briefing. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend, and I'll be talking with you again soon. Take care.